4 or 5 months in, I was part of the third round of layoffs at a startup, and that kind of thing happens. And so I said, you know what, now's my time. I'm gonna, kind of spread my wings and fly instead of trying to go work for somebody else.
Welcome to Becoming Better with Jeff Ponders. We deal with who we are, where we've been, where we're going, and who we're becoming to get there. It's time to leave your ego at the door and deal with real life. It's time to become better. Welcome to the Be Better podcast. My name is Jeff Ponders II. Today I have with me my friend, a business partner, buddy for a long time, Mr. Dave Weber. Dave is our resident ginger and tech farmer. If that combination doesn't even make sense. So Dave,
doesn't at all.
No,
it's all right though.
I mean, but it's cool. That's cool. Part of the fun of being human is the parts of us that don't make sense when you put them together.
I generally don't make sense to people, so it just like that just adds to the mystery of Dave.
It's fun. I think one of the first stories I remember about you is, so you were CTO. I think it was your first CTO job with Up To. And so, Dave, I know, as a dad, a husband, a dad of a whole lot of kids, CTO, farmer, general developer, audio engineer when necessary, and just a fixer and doer of things. You're like a life engineer practically.
That's fair.
But I remember you telling me a story about, you got started Up To, Greg called you and you're going into this investor meeting and you walk in with practically a man bun / ponytail, a beard such as this. I don't know if it is as glorious as this beard is right now.
This was all that was pre beard.
Was it
I've
pre-beard?
always had, I think at that point it's probably just some scruff, but yeah. And I had it was very professional hair.
Was it professional hair?
It was well before. It was like a faux hawk. It was, I don't know.
A faux hawk? Okay, yeah, a professional faux hawk. And some sandals.
It was shorter. I definitely had flip flops on though.
I'm not. Thank you. Not sandals.
No, flip flops.
Flip flops.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to raise money.
I was wearing a blazer though.
And therefore it's all.
Yeah. It just it brought up everything.
Yeah, because a blazer theoretically dresses up almost everything except the birthday suit. Though some people might argue otherwise.
Certainly some would try.
This is so not, I'm sure if you're listening, don't tell anybody. Actually, no, you're going to tell everybody I said this probably. So a very close friend of mine is getting married and we're helping plan his bachelor party. And there's a single rule from the fiance. She said there are to be no people who remove clothes. And so we had all kind of jokes about this and that, what happens if they just don't have any to begin with? Does it qualify? Now we know better. We're not stupid, but anyway, just, that means they can't come with a blazer either. Just whatever. Anyway. So Dave, welcome to the Be Better podcast. I appreciate your time, man. We're going to have a good time. So at the Be Better podcast, we talk about where we've been, where we're going, and who we're becoming in order to get there. I'm obsessed with the path and the process of becoming better and the thoughts and decisions that it takes to become the people that we aspire to be. Man, I admire you as a human being. I would love for you to just kind of share a little bit about your story and how you, like I said, you've been a bit of a life engineer. Love to hear your journey from growing up at, as the oldest of, was it four or 40 kids, to becoming the father of 4 or 40 kids and balancing being a farmer and a tech engineerish person.
Yeah, so let's jump into my story a little bit. So I knew growing up that I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know that was a term at that point. I knew I always wanted to own my own business. And so the path to get there, there's several different paths to get there. But for me, the path that I took, it was I want to learn everything about all the different parts of a business and then kind of jump in and figure it out. So my first job was cutting lawns and running blueprints at an engineering shop. And then I went to an electronics repair shop and watched them, fix stereos and speakers and all that kind of stuff. And, I just kind of participated on the side by cleaning up the stuff by cleaning up all the equipment when it was done. But I was always observing what was going on and trying to do my best to learn from other people. Ended up going back to that engineering shop, which was actually a company my grandpa started. they pulled me in to do some IT work for them because computers were interesting to me. I was digging in, learning about computers, started building my own. And some of the kids at school were saying, "Hey, Dave, can you build me my computer?" And so that was kind of like my first kind of selling stuff, doing my own business and building the computers for people.
How old were you?
I was high school. So I don't know, 16, 17, somewhere in there.
So you were high school, mid to early high school, doing IT at an engineering firm.
Yep.
And building and selling computers to kids at school.
Yeah.
Hustler.
I love talking about the things that interest me. And so people get to know what's interesting to me. And that provides lots of opportunities for me to, talk about those things. And so somebody says, if somebody's hearing about me talk about building a computer when I'm 15, 16 years old, whatever, they say, "Oh, can you do that for me too?" 100%. Absolutely. Yes. Yep. And so then I get to learn how to sell and how to price things and how I got to figure out what my time is worth. And for me, it's like, well, it's fun. I'll just go do it. But if I'm going to do this as a business, I need to not just give my time away. So there's certainly a balance in there.
That's interesting, man. I think about conversations we've had about the price of time.
Yep.
Whether it is the dollar value of time or the trade-off of what you might otherwise do. So I'm going to fast forward past high school a little bit. I know you did the college thing. I want to jump like years ahead. You've got this awesome wife. You got a bunch of kids. And how is that you're balancing the value of your time now as a family man, a father of 4, and a husband with the other things that you do?
So actually, before I get to there for right now, there's a couple of things I want to hit, and that's going to answer that question.
Awesome.
So I went to college. It was a co-op school, so Kettering University. 3 months of school, 3 months of work. You go back to that. And so part of the place that I was working was a small business while I was in my co-op space, and they dropped me in front of customers immediately. So it wasn't just a regular internship. I was an actual employee doing work in front of customers. And so I was learning how to interact with customers. 6 years into that, I said, I need to learn more. A friend reached out to me and said, "Hey, I know you know a lot of people. I need someone to help me, convert this entire system over to, a newer language." I said, "I can do that. Let's do that." So me and the team got together. We implemented this system, and it's still running today across all of small group business for Blue Cross, which is pretty crazy.
Really?
Yeah, pretty cool. So there's a team there. I know some of the guys still on the team, and like it's a fun project. It's cool to know that there's still pieces of what I've built out there. But that same guy who brought me there jumped to a startup, and he said, "Hey, Dave, again, I know you know a lot of people out there. I'm looking for this a sales engineer type position." And I said, "Sales? I need to know sales. I can use my technical skills. So I'm going to jump in here."
Yep.
So I think it was like 4 or 5 months in. I was part of the third round of layoffs at a startup, and that kind of thing happens. And so I said, "You know what? Now's my time. I'm going to kind of spread my wings and fly instead of trying to go work for somebody else." And so at that point, I started my own company doing contract work and development work and all of that. As soon as I kind of dropped that out there with my friends, whoever I let know I was doing contract work and stuff, things started building up. And so probably about 10 years ago, if you walked around the auto show and saw some of the big name brands holding iPhones or iPads, I was probably running software that I wrote, digital brochures and 3D models of cars and things like that. So that was pretty fun. So the business itself was growing, and I was at a spot where I was looking to hire more people and try and figure out, how do I take this from freelance to actually having employees and all that. So I was in the middle of working through all that. And in the process of that conversation, a man named Bob Fish, who started Big B Coffee.
Yep.
He was doing these things. He was calling them Spot Bob. And so he would randomly show up at a Big B, and then he would buy people's coffee for 2 hours. So I went to one in Grand Rapids with the family, and me and Bob, we just hit it off. Like, we had great conversation. So we ended up chatting on Twitter, and we had lunch a few times throughout the years. And one of the big questions I asked him was, how do you stay connected to your family as you're running and growing? And, Big B at this point was really launching. And he said, every morning I wake up and I make my son breakfast. It's the one time I know that throughout the day we can get together and we can have that time together. And he said, and at that point, I don't know, his son was middle school or high school. And he said, I still do it to this day. And, it has to be at 5:30 in the morning because he's getting up to go to practice or whatever. And he's like, but that's when I do it. So we still have that time together.
It's worth the sacrifice.
Yeah. And so it was basically from that day on, I said, all right, well, I'm working a lot trying to build this company. I want to have a focus on the family I'm building too. And so how do I balance all this? And I said, to do that, I have to make the choice, and I have to make the choice for family. And so when every morning we get together and we have family together, or we have breakfast together as a family.
I like having family better than having breakfast.
That's fair. It flows off the tongue better. How's that? But yeah, there have been very few days, unless I am out of the state, we have family together. I like that.
Yeah.
We'll stick with that for now. Yeah. But we have family breakfast together. Making that point to do it first means nothing else is going to get in the way.
I love it. It's funny. It's not, just, thinking biblically, it's almost like tithing. I'm tithing for my family before getting into the work.
Yeah, for sure.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah. So, that advice from Bob has stuck with me for well over 10 years.
I feel like you gave me that advice at one point. I'm still trying to figure it out.
I'm sure I did. I that's one of the things I tell almost everybody I have a conversation with.
Yeah.
When we start talking about family and business, it's so important to put the family first.
Yeah.
I wish I remembered the three things, but there are, Josh Linkner talked about there's family, there's work, and then there's one other thing. But being able to do all three well is nearly impossible.
Right.
And so if you're going to do family,
I think it's money. I think it's about being rich.
Money.
Yeah.
You can't be wealthy. You can't be all three. You can't have a good family, wealthy, and
good work.
Good
situation.
Work. And dig into work. And so you got to kind of pick two.
Can you hedge your bet and try to get all three by?
Yeah, I would. I'm 100% on arguing with that. But if you look at a lot of people, it's nearly impossible to do.
Yeah.
And so what I've done is family is always going to be there as a focus for me.
I love it, man. I've always been inspired. So you've got 4 awesome kids. You have a beautiful family. And I've always been inspired by how you are able, not just able, but how diligent you are about working to keep family first and balance that time. And you do a good job of making hard decisions. Say, hey, I can't. You say no very well especially when you need to say no for the family.
Yep.
And I admire that. So one of the things that struck me about the story you just told about, literally going from being a kid who identified that you wanted to be an entrepreneur, and this journey to today, you are an entrepreneur. What are you up to today? In fact, let me pause and talk about this. Yeah.
So, you want today or you want?
I want today. Yep. What is Dave up to, other than sitting right now in my mom's house, my parents' house, having this conversation with me?
Yeah. So I'm working with you.
It's true.
And a few other friends, and we're trying to figure out how can we augment education? How can we augment life to be more educational? There's this concept called unschooling. And in unschooling, you meet the kids where they're at. So if you're out on a walk or you are doing something, whatever, like making cookies in the kitchen or something like that, and the child expresses an interest, you stop and you talk about education. Let's say you're on a walk. You hear a bird. What kind of bird is that? I don't know. Let's go find out. And so you take that step right there to go teach a child.
It's like life as a learning experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is really cool. So the other thing I love you just talked about, you said, I don't know. Let's go find out. The idea of promoting curiosity,
right,
and research skills too. That's really cool, man.
But it's doing it immediately in the moment so you don't lose it.
Yeah.
It's not like, yeah, let's add that to a list and we'll get back to it later. This is a perfect opportunity. One, because the child has curiosity, and two, because you don't know, and why not teach alongside when the child is interested? So you and I were looking to figure out how to do that for today's environment where people are sitting at home, and I'm not sure when this is coming out, but we're rocking the stay-at-home stuff and rocking the COVID right now, so we're all being careful. And some of that pops up when you're watching Netflix. Some of that pops up when you're watching YouTube.
Yep. There's a lot of I don't knows out here in the world right now. Yeah. I think one of the things that I appreciate about the story you shared, both with what you're working on now, we're working on together, but also really a through line through your story is, I don't know, let me go learn more to figure it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Where did that come from? This passion or hunger to learn and selfishly, I'm gonna call it to grow and capture new information, but just where'd that come from for you?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've been trying to figure that out too. The earliest spot that I've been able to pinpoint is, so when I was probably, I don't know, 16 or 17, somewhere in there. I always wondered why we took the car to the shop to get the oil change. And I said, how does that work? And so then I went and, I jumped up, jumped on the internet. I don't know if YouTube
is
definitely
not
it probably would have been CompuServe or Prodigy or something at that point, but jumping on the web, and I just started searching. Google wasn't around. It was probably Yahoo or
Netscape.
Alta Vista or something like that.
Yeah.
But, and it's like, all right, let me just go ask. Let me see if I can find out the information. And so I said, oh, I could totally do that. And so it was at that point where it was like, there's something I don't know. I think I could do that. Let me figure out and let me learn, and then I can go do that. And so it's just at every step of the way, it's, oh, there's a problem with my car. Oh, there's a problem with my house. Oh, I want to put in new floors in the house. I can do that. Why not?
Did you put new floors in your house, Dave?
Yes. This is the second time I've done it now.
Might be the second time you said it too. Oh no, that man.
But I also don't do all those things alone. So so with the floors, both times I reached out to some friends and I said, hey, I need help. This is a project bigger than I can do. But I also took the time to learn how to do it so we could just jump in and just start knocking things out. So it's not just about going to do it myself. It's about gathering that knowledge to see, yeah, I can do that. Can I do it with friends too?
It's funny. So I've got show notes that you've not seen yet.
Yeah.
And I feel like you cheated and looked at some of my notes here.
Or we just kind of know each other.
Or we might know each other. My God. I think the concept of always learning is one thing. It's a whole nother thing to say, how can I involve my community in my experiences too? As you become what I'm going to call a life engineer, because it just seems like you engineers solve problems. And as you've lived life, you've identified problems and figured out ways to solve them. Right? That's a problem. How do I do that? Oh, I can do that. All right, cool. I'm going to do it. Now let me involve my people, my friends and my family and community with me. So as you've gone through this process, whether it's, the lawn service or working with family in high school or, building computers for your friends or now building companies, who are those people who've really been a part of the journey with you and how have they helped enrich your experience?
So when I hear the question, I hear, who are the external people? When I look back and think about it, it's not necessarily the external people. I think a lot of people around us come and go, and a lot of people are in our lives for a season. It's the people that we surround ourselves with on a daily basis that are doing life together with us, that are there for the long haul.
Yeah.
That would be defined more as family.
Mm-hmm.
And family isn't necessarily what everybody defines it as. It doesn't necessarily mean blood. It means it could be a chosen family. It could be the chosen people you have around you. One of I would say that the person who does life with me all the time is my wife. before I commit to taking time away from our family, I will say, yeah, that sounds good. It looks like something that I can do. Let me double check with my wife to make sure we're on the same page, to make sure that, we haven't, double booked something and, not communicated about it. And so I don't make big steps, and I don't generally make smaller steps in life and career and all that stuff without double checking to make sure, even if it's, hey, I got to go run to Atlanta on a business trip or something. It's like, all right, I think those dates will work. I'll get back to you and let you know. It's not, work doesn't win over family for me.
That's right.
And so to answer your question, I do that with my wife. She's been there with me the whole time, and it's us, and then it's the kids.
Do you involve the kids in the decision too?
No,
but you consider them. Got it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That's really cool. I mean, I got my 3, you got your 15, and
I have 4 kids for those listening.
And I get it, and it's interesting to really build a system that that you can operate within, that makes it easy to make those decisions.
Yeah.
Were there any points along the way that led you to build systems that work not just for work, but really work for the totality of life? Like,
yeah,
what got you to this point of, hey, this is how it works?
Failing.
Biggest failure.
So jumping back into my story, the company where I was doing freelance work, when I was building that, the hours got to 20 hours a day. And so I was waking up in the morning, I was making breakfast for the family, and then I was jumping back in, and I'd go down for work. I'd pop up for a quick lunch, and I'd pop right back down, and I'd just keep working. And it was at that point, there's probably 18 months of that.
Wait.
When, yeah. So
how's that even physically possible?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was about 18 months of that, and then my wife called me out on it, and she's like, "We can't keep living like this." And I said, "You're right, we can't." I said, "But I don't know how to do it different." And so we had to sit down and we had to talk through it, and we had to figure it out. And it was at that point that we started making those changes. And so that's when family really flipped to be more important than work. And it was because family is more important than work for us, and we're just not going to live our lives like that. It wasn't good for me. It wasn't good for the family. It wasn't good for my health. Just overall wasn't great for us. So yeah, we made that concerted effort together, the choice together. And we knew going into it was going to be hard, but it got worse than we both imagined. 20 hours a day is too much.
That just doesn't make it. Like, I did the math, and like, you still have your hair. Like your hairline is solid. Like, your hairline is pretty close to where your brim line is on the hat. Like, I just feel like if you did 18 months of working 20 hours a day and it's causing trouble at home, and the beard is for like everything. Like, I just can't. I don't see how you held up like this.
Yeah, I don't think we would have had we not put a stake in the ground and said something's got to change.
Yeah.
And we both saw it. I'm glad she spoke up first.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, what's the value of? We could definitely talk about Laura, your wife. But just I'm thinking about what's it been like having a partner like your wife, or other folks. Obviously nowhere near, not as close as her, to help you kind of filter through the decisions you're making.
It lets me be aware of other people. It lets me get out of my own head. What I've learned is that I will stay in my own head and I will stay on my own path if I don't purposely bring other people in. And having that set up with Laura, that our partnership in life, she helps me stay on track. And even before, there will be times when I know that I have to send a hard email or a hard text message, or have to have a hard conversation. I'll sit down and I'll chat with her before. My goal is to be intentional with the people I'm having conversations with. And so I will make sure that there hasn't been anything else that I missed or didn't think of, or that I said it in the right way. It's important to me to let people know that I care about them, and I don't want to forget about the little things too. And she helps me remember those. And so I've seen her support be that important in many different situations that it's just natural now. And so by doing that practice, by, you know, making sure, even if it's a little thing, it's like, I'm going to grab dinner with some buddies tonight. And it was before I said yes, I said, hey, Laura, do you care if I go do this? Is there anything I'm missing? Like, I just want to make sure. I know we talked about me, you know, being out all day Thursday anyways, but I just want to make sure that you're still cool with it and it doesn't conflict with anything in the family or whatever. And it's just like, just so we get on the same page. And just so then she does the same thing with me. Hey, I'm running out to go get food for the chickens or goats or whatever. And do you need anything while I'm out? It's being consistent about the other person's needs and just checking in on life.
Wait, so she calls the chickens and goats are friends? Like your friends that you're having dinner with tonight?
No. Although the next couple of days we will be eating our friends the cows.
Oh man, you know what? No, in all seriousness, that makes a ton of sense. I mean, so you've got a farm. Let me pivot for a second. You've got a farm. Tell us about the farm a little bit. Because I mean, we've been talking about all this work stuff as a developer and, you know, managing a family. That's great. But you just talked about feeding chickens and goats, and for some reason that just doesn't seem to fit in that equation very naturally.
Welcome to my life.
We're
recording this in a house in Detroit right now, and we spent a significant amount of time trying to buy a house down here, and every time we put an offer in, we got outbid by cash. We were so frustrated.
Yep.
This is at a time when, you know, the prices were way down.
Yep.
And it was still like we still couldn't get anything, and we were super frustrated. And so we took a step back and we said, what could our life look like, you know, if we didn't just look in Detroit? And so it was like, well, it'd be nice to raise our own chickens and our own goats.
Yeah, because that's what everybody does.
That's weird. And so I said, where did that come from? And so Laura grew up on a little bit of property. Her dad had a tractor and stuff like that. And so she'd always been interested in gardening and animals. And so I was like, look, we can't get a house in Detroit. Maybe we got to do something else. So let's look. And so we figured out what kind of land you need for chickens and goats and what that looks like. And so it's a couple acres and, you know, depending on how many animals and all that, whatever. So we started looking. I said, I was working downtown Detroit at the time, and I wanted to be an hour from there. And so the line I drew on my realtor's map was an hour. So basically extended all down 96 and up 75 and like 5 minutes off the highway. I just need to be within an hour of Detroit. And so give me all the couple acre properties and we'll just start picking through them. And we ended up on a farm that we think was built in the mid 1850s, and we don't know for sure. We haven't actually gone back to the library records to check, but there's the title, and it's a really old farm. So anyways, so we found this place. It's got, you know, big old barn building and like an old wooden barn kind of thing that you would expect. And,
yep.
And so we're just figuring out, we're learning, we're raising our kids there, and they got chores and taking care of the animals in the morning, make sure they got food. And I got a big hay field out back, and
yeah,
I bought some tractors and some hay equipment. And it's like, well, we got to feed the animals. I could either go buy it or I could play with the tractor and do it myself.
And it would just be a Dave. It wouldn't be a Dave thing to go buy it. You got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it, learn it. But when hay season comes around, you can't do it alone.
You can't do it alone. Man, I tell you, I think that's one of those things I love about you as a human, man. It's, you can't do it alone. Like I say that universally, but even just specifically to you, it's, you can't do it alone. So what are some other, just thinking about how you build community. So there's the farm, there's the work. Like, what other things are you doing that, you know, are about not doing it alone?
It's interesting. which is actually the next step in the farm story. It's like we wanted a place that we could have community and build community and be a central spot for that community. And so even though hate isn't something you do alone, living life together isn't fun doing it alone either. So we don't live life alone. We always have people around us. Our home is always open. If there's a problem, come on over, we'll sit and we'll chat, and or not. We can just sit. If you want to come sit out in the woods or go for a walk in the woods, come on over. Like,
I got space for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Our farm is there for other people. It's not there for us.
I'm probably leading the witness right now. So I think about, you had this life that you could have had living in the city of Detroit somewhere in some house in some neighborhood, which would be fine, compared to the life you have now, living on a farm about an hour outside the city, outside of downtown Detroit, with chickens and goats and what used to be cows that are now ready for the eating.
That are now in the freezer.
They're man, can't wait. And how, think about what your life is now versus what it could have been. How would you describe it?
I think if I were to have one word, it would be peaceful. I think a more accurate one would be intentional. We're not just getting caught up in the day-to-day of stuff. Certainly we have routines, but on the farm, on an old farm, things break. So you got to stop what you do and you got to go fix it. Like, you live life with what happens around you instead of trying to just go through the flow and get to the end of the day, work to 9 to 5. Like, it's just, you get to live life a little freer.
Have you ever been that guy just working the 9 to 5, just kind of trying to get to the end of the day and like in that, the relative hamster wheel of life?
I've done it a couple times.
Yeah.
I do not like it.
No? What?
No.
Don't you? Everybody loves the hamster wheel of life, right?
I like to be in control of my life. Even if I get stuck in a rut, it's my choice to be in that rut.
Yeah. I've been in the hamster wheel. Crap sucks.
It does.
It super sucks.
But sometimes I've found that you need to be in there to take care of other things.
And that goes back to, what's the word you just used?
Intentionality.
Intentional.
Being intentional.
Yeah. So in the spirit of being intentional, so I ask all my folks, all my guests this question. So today is the youngest that you will ever be again. Right now too.
As is defined by our current knowledge of science.
Fair. So let's work within our existing understanding of time and space and science. Okay. So if this moment right now is the youngest you'll ever be again, who do you want to be when you grow up?
It's interesting. It's not about where I want to be. It's more about who I want to have around me than it is about how I want to be. So it's more about gathering that community and bringing people in. And I don't want to be the center of attention, but I want to be able to provide for everyone around me. And so I want to be able to help people where they're at. The picture I think of, which is funny, it's like that lady in Home Alone with the pigeons all around her and feeding them. It's like,
yeah,
it's like that type of an image, but it's like, and I would love to be a place. I would love to be in a spot that provides a place for people to gather. And so I don't need to be in a certain spot, but I want to be able to provide for people in that spot.
That is amazing. It's funny, as I've asked folks this question, everybody's answer is different. I haven't heard somebody say, I want to be Superman, or, you may see on my LinkedIn, I want to be Batman when I grow up. I'm inspired because the answers I hear are less about who the individual wants to be and more about the impact they want to have. And we can talk about, hey, I want to be kind, or I want to be creative, or I want to be rich, or whatever, insert adjective, superlative. end of the day, it's about, like, I think folks who live life with meaning and who truly make a difference in the world live life thinking about that impact that they can have. Or they're all just in a really good place and they're doing the types of things today that they want to be able to do. And they want to be able to continue that in order to have more impact. So, man, that makes me feel good on the inside. It's not bubble guts either, I promise.
Stay away from those gummies.
Yeah, man. So Dave, I don't know, why do you have to bring the gummies in? So
you should link to them.
I
Drop
might.
a link in the show notes so people can go buy them.
I may even put an Amazon affiliate link in there too, just for kicks.
Do that.
So I
highly recommend against buying those.
No, so listen, since Dave wants to bring this up right now, I was in Vegas. I'm going to tell a story. So I was in Vegas for a bachelor party. It was one of my best friends, a fraternity brother. And I don't know how I stumbled across this, but I ended up on Amazon and I stumbled across the sugar-free gummy bears. And
that means they're healthy, right?
It means healthy, right? And I looked at a single review and I lost my flipping mind. It was the hands down funniest piece of prose I have ever seen in my entire life. And I spent the next 2 hours, like, they left and were on the Vegas Strip having whatever good time they were having. We actually had a very wholesome, upstanding man bachelor party in Vegas. Like, it was amazing. But I spent 2 hours
reading reviews.
I had an ab workout from the laughter. And so I literally, after about the third review, I ordered immediately. People say they tasted like heaven. It was manna from heaven. I'll post a link for this. You just need to read it.
The reviews are great.
They taste amazing.
There's no way I'm going to try.
You absolutely have. I should have brought it here and given you one right now. I am disappointed. I should have brought. So what's funny is, first person I gave it to was my wife, but I told her to read the reviews first. So she was aware. You'll read the reviews, you'll understand. I did not tell my parents about the reviews.
You are a terrible human being.
I have half a mind to call my mom and be like, hey, Mom, remember those gummy bears? So I gave them to her. And I said, but I did give a warning. I said, don't eat more than 8 or 9. But they taste awesome. She didn't listen to me. I got a text the next day. Actually, it was about 4 a.m. Very colorful language. And then I sent her the reviews. And I'm pretty sure that as a 30-something-year-old man, I got a whooping at that point because I deserved it.
Yeah.
But they asked for more. And
that's ridiculous.
They just use them responsibly now.
All right.
You're responsible. You apply intent to life. Like, if there's anything we've discovered in this story about you, you are intentional. Which is why I can trust you with the gummies. You'll be intentional with eating the gummies.
I know that I will stop at 7.
Yep. See, that's why you can have them.
I'm not going to do it.
You're also going to be intentional about not eating them.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, these are not the gummies you're thinking of. These are just normal.
They're wonderful sugar-free gummy bears.
Yeah.
Sugar-free.
Yep.
I'll post a link. It's going to be worth it. Promise.
Legal in all 50 states.
All the states. Albanese gummy bears. Sugar-free. All right. So, Dave, man, you are an incredible human being. You've done some really cool stuff. And you consistently build community. You operate with intention. So looking forward, what's next for you in this? Like, you're always learning and pushing yourself to grow. What's next for you in terms of how you're becoming better today?
One of the questions a lot of people ask me or have over the last couple of years is similar. How do I keep growing? How do I keep learning? And my response is always read a book. Read a book, read a book, read a book. The beautiful thing about books is it takes a long time to make it come to a thought, a coherent thought. And you're taking somebody's years of experience and summarizing it into something that you can digest in several hours. And that will leapfrog you further than you could even imagine by having to go through all those experiences yourself.
Yep.
So last year, my goal was to read 50 books. I didn't actually count, but I read a lot of books last year. I listened to a podcast from Tim Ferriss the other day, author of the 4-Hour Work Week and plenty other of those. And one of the things that he said was in his past, he had done something similar where just kept reading and reading and reading. But he counted the number of books that he could possibly read in the rest of his life based on average lifespan. He figured out that there's going to be a lot of books that he's not going to get to. And so he's going to be very intentional about the books that he is going to read. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the things I'm doing this year is to back off of how many books I'm reading and to be more intentional about the books that I am. So where I'm sitting right now, I'm in the middle of a book called Falling Upwards by Richard Rohr. He is a Franciscan priest, and he's talking about the two halves of life. And the first half of life is essentially building this container, and the second half of life is kind of figuring out how to use it. So it's really fascinating. It talks about life from a spiritual perspective, so depending on where you're at. But it's really fascinating.
It's interesting, man. When you say building the container and then figuring out how to use it, when you said building the container, I immediately thought figuring out how to fill it, because it feels like a natural human thing to say, I got something, put as much stuff as I can in it. But it's a much different thing to think about. I have a resource. I have a thing that I built. What are all the different ways I can use it?
Yeah, that's certainly one way you could take it. He's taking it a different way, but the term he uses is called transcend and include. How do we use our life experiences? And then how do we transcend those, but still know that they're a part of us?
That's a really powerful concept, man. I think about the Better book, and one of the concepts, like the first part of our process of being better is about, accepting who you are. And this idea of transcendent inclusiveness, is that nail it?
Transcendent include, yeah.
Yep. It's this idea of, can I look at who I am, where I've been, accept, the bookends of my story to date, and not, when accepting of it, not be bound down by it, not be trapped by my past or my heritage or anything like that. So being able to transcend that, but also recognize how it helped contribute to where I am today and what's possible moving forward. We can add this to our shared book list. How about that?
Deal.
Yeah. Just kind of thinking about what's next for you, and the book certainly being one of it. How can our listeners continue to follow you? And more importantly, how can they support who you are and where you're going and what you're up to?
I say probably follow along on Twitter. I'll probably post the important things there. I'm pretty silent there. I just kind of pay attention. But yeah, if you want to find me on Instagram, I post pictures of the farm and my day-to-day life there. Probably Twitter's where I'll post the big life updates. And
what's your handle there?
I'm Dave's Acre.
Dave's Acre?
Dave's Acre.
Not Dave's 27 acres, just Dave's Acre.
It's Dave's Acre.
Yep.
That's me everywhere.
Dave's Acre everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Not everywhere, just Dave's Acre.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Everywhere.
I wonder if I can get that.
You could. I mean, that sounds like a URL.
Sounds like it.
That might be a book.
Might be.
Dave's Acre everywhere.
I don't know. I'm davesacre.com too.
Do you?
Yeah.
Is that the blog? Used to be
There's
a blog.
a blog there. And my last blog article talks about how we have to stop talking and start doing.
Shut up.
That was the last blog post I wrote. And I don't feel like I can pick it up again after
that. So I think that so counterpoint, I think that you might have to pick that up at some point and say, here's what I did after I stopped talking.
That's fair.
Or at least say, hey, to see what I've been doing, come visit.
That's fair.
Yeah. Man, I appreciate your time, and it's been awesome. I am inspired by your intention in life as a life engineer, as an entrepreneur, friend, father, husband, all those things. And I think it's some good stuff to take away with how whether it's just me or listeners, can apply intent to our lives to make better decisions, certainly more intentional decisions that take us where we want to go, and we can be who we want and should be. So thank you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so fun.
Yeah. Is it not wild that I've been sitting here still in this seat for the last hour?
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. All right, guys, we've had a great time. Thank you so much to Dave Weber, life engineer, developer, CTO, husband, father, family man, farmer.
Who wears flip-flops.
Who wears the flip-flop farmer. God, that sounds like a rap name, the flip-flop farmer.
I'm down. Let's do it.
Yep. So we'll look out for Dave's single, his hot single, the flip-flop farmer spits hot fire. But no, Dave, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you for hanging out with us on the Be Better podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, brother.
You've been tuned in to Becoming Better with Jeff Ponders. Special thank you to our guests for this episode and to our partners Mammoth Studios and the Cochran House. We appreciate you for joining us on this journey toward a better life from the inside out. See you soon.